Tyrese Haliburten, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Giddey are three NBA players that have been very polarizing as of late. Tyrese Haliburten started the season catching eyes from all around the NBA as the Indiana Pacers made and almost won the NBA play-in tournament, and fans, media, and whomever dubbed him as the NBA's best point guard, someone who is very naturally gifted with remarkable court vision and impeccable talent as an NBA floor general. Mikal Bridges was said to be the Brooklyn Nets superstar of the future, the number one option on his team to make the NBA playoffs this season and maybe steal a few games in the first round. The NBA front office has not been shy about this as they turned down multiple trade offers that were told to yield 4 or 5 first-round picks for Brooklyn. And Josh Giddey was thought to be the third or fourth option on this Oklahoma City Thunder team, as his court vision and rebounding and slow style of play paired very well with the rest of this Oklahoma City roster. Now all three of these men have me asking the same question: what is going on with these NBA players? Before we get into this video, guys, I do want to remind you we are uploading every single day for the month of March, so if you're new here, please be sure to consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any daily NBA content. And we are on the road to 3,000 subscribers. The support recently has been awesome. Let's just jump right into this. I don't want to bore you guys with too many numbers, but these are just some statistics for Tyrese Haliburten post All-Star break. Really, we're just going to look at the month of February and the month of March. So in the month of February, he averaged 16 points, only 9 assists, and shot a 38% from the three-point land. But what's really important to note about this, guys, is that if you take a peek at his free throw percentage and attempts per game, it's down to 74% on the month and down to 1.4 to 1.9 free throw attempts per night, which is down from his career average of 3.6 a night, so nearly 2 free throw attempts a game. Sorry, not 3-point free throw attempts a night. Then we take a look at his March stats, and it gets increasingly more interesting. His free throw percentage skyrockets as he's attempting more free throws. He's back up to 2.7 a game. He's shooting 94%. However, his numbers point wise are going down as he's averaging 15 points, 10 assists, and he is shooting 19%. That's right, 19% from three-point land, including back-to-back games where he shot 0 for 6, then 3 for 10, then 2 for 7, 1 for 6, 2 for 6, 1 for 6. Needless to say, it has not been pretty. A 0-point performance against the New Orleans Pelicans is absolutely wild. He was completely played off the court in this one. So there's a couple takeaways from this, numbers aside. Tyrese Haliburten has been actively frustrated in the quality of performance that he's had, not just by himself, but as the Indiana Pacers as a whole. Instantly, one of the first examples I think of is their loss to the 12-win San Antonio Spurs. The hamstring is definitely notable, and we kind of see this in the lack of free throw attempts per game. Tyrese isn't the most aggressive guy towards the basket. Generally, he's driving to kick, not driving to score. But it's almost been 2 months since this hamstring injury has occurred. That does not make the injury very relevant in the sense that it's keeping him out every day, but it's now something that he's playing through, something that's nagging at him. And just from the eye test, there's for sure a less physical quality or a less explosive quality to Tyrese's game. This is also the first time we've seen Rick and the Indiana Pacers try to implement him at times as the secondary ball handler instead of the primary ball handler. I'm not sure if this is just because of the addition of Pascal Siakam or because Tyrese's hamstring is bothering us more than we know. As someone who is moving around, that's kind of what they're trying to turn Tyrese into on not every possession, but some possessions, a guy who's moving without the ball instead of someone who's funneling the entire offense through his ability to make a play. This is a result of him being doubled so often. If he could come off these screens, he's much more open. They're opting to have Andrew Nembhard to be the primary ball handler on plays where Tyrese is not the primary ball handler. And then a big thing I feel like people aren't talking about enough is we have to remember that Buddy Hield is not around anymore. He obviously was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers back at the deadline, and that's something that changes a lot more than the Pacers fans may like to admit. Having someone who can shoot 40% or more from three-point land on 6 to 10 attempts a night is definitely something you're going to miss when your star player, your superstar, your max guy, however you want to say it, is someone who is a pass-first point guard and not someone who's always looking to score. So you pair the loss of Buddy Hield, and then Doug obviously has not really been able to make up those minutes because he's dealing with injury. You pair those two things with the fact that you're figuring out new sets on offense and defense while bringing in a guy named Pascal Siakam. It's definitely not something easy, if you were to say. Now, do I think this changes the trajectory of Tyrese Haliburten going forward as far as like, is this our number one guy? Yeah, I think Tyrese can definitely be the number one or number two guy on an NBA championship roster. I just think Tyrese and Pascal would need more than half of a season stint while you're rehabbing a hamstring injury to understand if it's the right thing or the right getup, I guess you'd say, going forward. Now, I do wish he was more aggressive towards the basket. These are things I said about someone like Lonzo Ball when he was kind of coming up in the NBA. For such a free throw shooter that's so efficient as Tyrese, obviously Zoe was not that efficient of a free throw shooter. This video isn't even about him, but I would just like for him to be more aggressive driving to the basket when that hamstring is nursed up to 100%. And then, their team is very solid if they can get, Benedict Mathurin healthy again. Because he's really the guy who's the aggressor on this roster. Obviously, Pascal is pretty aggressive. That's neither here nor there. Tyrese Haliburten is in a big slump, though, guys, and it's time to get out of it. Next, we have Mikal Bridges. In the month of February, Mikal Bridges' numbers, they kind of tell an interesting tale because he averaged 17 points in February, and he only shot 76% from the free throw line and 30% from downtown and 40% from the field alone. Now, the biggest takeaway for me when we look at these numbers is that free throw percentage is down nearly 10%, guys, from his career average, as he's an 85% career free throw shooter. I think the pressure of being the number one option paired with the fatigue of playing nearly 500 games in a row, I think it's starting to become a burnout type of situation. This is the first season getting adjusted entirely to being the number one first option. And with that comes the consequences of the fandom and the media and the front office, Sean Marks and everyone else, saying we're not looking for anyone else. This is our guy. When we lose, it's not his fault. That's what Sean's saying. But then you have the fans. When you lose to Memphis like they did, you lose to the Detroit Pistons like they did, the fans are going to get sick. I see a lot of NBA media revolving around the Brooklyn Nets saying, we're done with Mikal. We need to trade him. Because they're falling into a trap of Mikal Bridges. They extend Cam Johnson. They're going to pay Cam Thomas eventually. They're going to pay Nick Claxton eventually. And then if they pay, obviously, Mikal Bridges, it kind of gets to be the situation where, yes, Mikal is a hell of a basketball player. On his best nights, he's very efficient. He's a hell of a defender. But he doesn't get to utilize and shine and flex his best abilities when he's the number one option. Because Mikal at his best is exactly what he was in Phoenix. The Iron Man who plays 82 games a year, who plays defense on your opposing team's best wing, who knocks down three-pointers from 40%. Just a very, very talented third option, guys. He is not your first guy. He probably would never be the second guy on an NBA championship team. And that is nothing against Mikal Bridges. I just think this trade dealt a bad hand for him. And him being the number one option, as I mentioned, playing nearly 4 seasons in a row without a single game off, I just think it might be too much for Mikal. And I just don't really like the trajectory of this Nets team because he's not been doing terrible by any means, but per the expectation of what we have set up for him as the number one option, it's definitely not great for him. Because last season he, had some 40-point games. I think he maybe even had a 50-point game. And we're just kind of saying, oh my gosh, Mikal can be this number one guy. But guys, he's not that at the end of the day. And it's no flame. It's just, it makes you wonder what's going on inside the head of him. Is he going to stay in Brooklyn and get a bag, or is he going to move on? And then we'll keep this last one quick because I wasn't even going to talk about Josh Giddey in this video, guys. But I am going to just say it's very interesting to see his role kind of decrease into, whatever you want to call it, a bench guy, a 6-man. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But last season, Josh only missed 5 games. And he averaged 17 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal a night. Shot almost 50%, which was 7% up from the season before. And then he shot 32% from 3, which may sound terrible, but that's also 8% up from what he shot the year before. I just really looked at Josh Giddey last season and thought he was going to be this crazy Australian, NBA prospect, kind of like Ben Simmons, where he's just great ball handler, great passer, very patient in what he does. But with this off the court stuff, obviously it's clearly taking a toll on him. What do you guys think? What do you make of this video? If you made it this far, I appreciate y'all support as always. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay happy, healthy, and blessed. Peace.